I have a friend that lives down the street uh, named Ron Kirk, who has gone yesterday to have stents put in his blood vessels in his heart because they're closing up with fatty deposits, and was told, no, your condition is too serious to do stents. We need to go in and do open heart surgery. Uh, in talking with him today about the shock of that, because he'd been assured that um, stents would be good enough, I found out that my good friend uh, uh, Rick Kalinsky, excuse me, Rick, uh, had open heart surgery 9 years ago, and it was very successful. Well, both of those gentlemen are Jewish. Then we have the man who talked me into running for judge, Henry Cantor, who's Jewish. Uh, and we have my best friend from my social work graduate school program, Elizabeth Rutter. She's Jewish. I have been at times in love with that woman, and the reason I fell in love with her was because we could talk so wonderfully. Her father was a lawyer, that might have had something to do with it, and we still talk. I call her and we talk, and she lives in Berkeley, California, but Oakland actually, and we're still very close, and she's Jewish. And then we have my favorite counselor when I worked in the Job Corps, the best counselor we had, named Laurel Weinstein. She was brilliant at working with the corpsmen. She's Jewish. And I'm sure I'm forgetting several Jewish friends. But Henry Cantor basically saved my bacon economically. Now I'm economically secure thanks to him. In the meantime, I am so upset with the murdering that's going on in Israel. And most of the people who are running the show there are descendants of European Jews. And the way I've come to terms with this is, I think the people who are the descendants of the European Jews have what I consider to be a mental illness of retaliatory fixation on retaliating. And I know that 100,000 Israelis demonstrated recently wanting an election, wanting to get Netanyahu out. It's not all the Israelis by any means, but it's a majority. I heard recently that the poll was done in Israel, and they found that over 2/3 of the people there didn't want any aid to the Palestinians when they're sitting there starving and without any water to drink and being bombed every day. And a majority of the Israelis apparently want that. It's not just Netanyahu, I'm sorry. But I think they have an illness coming from the trauma that happened to their parents and grandparents. My friend down the street that I mentioned that has the heart difficulty right now, his mother had a number tattooed on her arm. Why wouldn't they have some leftover post-traumatic reaction to these things? And so I am not mad at my Jewish friends. Many of them are appalled by what's happening in Israel themselves, and for the ones who aren't, I think they have a post-traumatic reaction to what Hitler did, and I think it's understandable and not for me to be too judgmental about. I am very judgmental about the Democrats who voted more money for the slaughter after it was very clear that this is not a war with Hamas. This is an ethnic cleansing that's going on. The radical minority in Israel wants to ethnically cleanse and eliminate the Palestinians. And all the stuff about the war with Hamas, that's all a big lie. Oh yes, there are people from Hamas who killed 1,200 people and have got over 100 hostages to this day. Those are horrible people, but that's just a small segment of what's going on. The big problem segment is cleanse out, get rid of the Palestinians. That's so wrong. And I don't know what the answer is going to be, but I'm afraid it's going to end up being a very bloody one, because I don't, if they eventually get some kind of a truce, then the radical Israelis are going to go on killing the Palestinians, even if they stop bombing. They have so many rifles and pistols and patrols and cameras and fences. I don't know the solution to this, but I've found a way to live with my knowledge that I'm angry with the radical Jews in Israel, but I still love and don't have angst toward my Jewish friends here in the United States. So at least I've found a way to get my blood pressure to come back down, which was elevated for a couple of months because I was so upset by that killing. Now, hopefully, in the politics of the United States, somebody will say we've got to call a stop to the funding of this murder. We'll see.